Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald. Rochelle is sitting right over there. And I got to tell you, this is a monumental day in one of our lives. But I'm not going to tell you what it is or why. But if somebody just breaks out in tears, you might know. But in the meantime, we have a great show for you today. We have a wonderful guest. You know, Rochelle, on the Brushwood Media Network, one of the things that we get a lot of are people that say, you know, I love the shows that you do with people who have special talents, special gifts.
100%.
And this young lady has got special gifts in bucket loads. She's a spiritual life coach, a psychic medium, an intuitive counselor, an Akashic record reader, a soul alignment practitioner, and crystal energy healer. There's so much, and an angel guide. So she does a lot of these things. Would you care to introduce our guest?
I would love to. So on the show today, everybody, we welcome Alexa. How are you doing? And thank you for being here.
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, and we're going to have a great deal of fun because what your passion is working with women, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've got this right. Your passion is working with women to help them realize who they really are so they can lead their best life and do all the things in life that they would like to be able to do. And by doing that, they can make the choice to live any way they want and to have all the abundance that they want. Am I close?
Yeah, I believe that when you know who you truly are, that's when you can have anything you want.
I know that for a fact, and that is so. I'm glad you said that because it is so cool, but it's a process, isn't it?
Absolutely a process. A lot of people say, "Oh, just be your authentic self, just be yourself," But there's so much working against us when we go to actually be our authentic selves. A lot of people are like, "But wait, who am I?" Because there's so much societal conditioning, things that happened in childhood, not to mention like all the past lives, all the things you're carrying from that really get in the way and muddy up the work. So it really can become difficult to know who you truly are when you're carrying all that.
Indeed. And like we say in the opening, because I was 42 when I had that epiphany of like, okay, I've got the house, I've got the job, I've got the wife and the kids and stuff, but why am I really here? I'm not happy. I don't understand what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And so what do I do? And I had no answers at that time because there was nobody that I could turn to like you and say, okay, Alexa, help me understand why I'm here and what I'm here to do. There was nobody like that in 2002 at least that I knew of.
Yeah.
And so things have evolved a lot in the last 23, 24 years. But in those days, there wasn't any. And everybody basically said, hey, look, you've got a career, you've got a job. Just do that till you're 65, and then you can retire. And then maybe you'll be happy, or maybe you won't be. But at that point, your life is almost over anyway. And it was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that part.
Like, just stick it out. Just stick it out.
just stick it out. That's what my family said. That's what my former wife said too, which is probably why she's my former wife, because she wanted me to just make the money and do the things that that her parents did and my dad did and stuff. And I just didn't feel like that was an appropriate way for me to live my life, because I felt like I had so much more to give. But do you find that there are a lot of people that are in that same boat? They understand, they want to give more, and they want to understand why they're really here, but it's hard when you don't have somebody to help you.
Yeah, I think it really is because, because of all of the things that can get in the way when you're trying to just do it by yourself and try to get back to it, it's really hard to then have either the objectivity or to know which tools. And there's so much information on the internet, right? We start Googling, like, how do I find my purpose? It's like, good luck wading through all of that information, right?
Well, then everybody's got something to sell you when you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And so then what happens is you start filling your head with all this stuff, right? You start taking all these classes and, maybe you get like a single session with a psychic or a healer, hoping that that's going to clear things out or help. Right. And so you can start to then make it worse when you start to go seek outside of yourself for all these like answers on the internet. And so I think that for anyone, having a mentor or a guide for whatever it is that you're doing can be really helpful. And I was thinking about this the other day because I've always considered myself someone who's very like self-taught, very like DIY. I've done all these things, becoming a high school teacher or working in the ad industry or a director, all these things that I did without any sort of like degree or formal training. But what I realized when I was thinking about it is I always had really good mentors or guides, like people that were ahead of me that could show me the way. And so I think it's a myth that you can sort of figure it out on your own, or trying to do that. It's going to take you so much longer. Right. And so I want to save my clients all that time that I spent spinning out and looking for all these things and trying to figure it out. Hey, let's do it in 3 months instead of 3 years. Because, here's this curated process, like all my experience and my skills and all the modalities, all those things, right? These things that I've tried, because I am my client, but just further down the line, right? And so that's why I think it can be really valuable. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, finding a mentor or a guide, someone who's gone down that path, who can point you the way, somebody that you can trust.
Oh, you just said the magic word. Somebody that you can trust.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to do. Rochelle, do you have a thought or a question?
Just thinking about, trust alone is, I think, can be perceived in so many ways, really, because it's not a negative thing, and it's not hard to have that trust until you lose it. But getting it back is a whole nother ball game. Have you had instances like that, Alexa, with something that along your journey where you just kind of kept falling over and over again, and then you were like, okay, like there's got to be another way, because if I can't trust this process, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I've been through a lot of challenges that tested my trust and faith, right? And I think that sometimes when you hit a lot of roadblocks, then it's a sign that that's not the right path to take, and that it's time to try something new, because that can be the universe like redirecting you to where you need to go. And I think that trusting yourself is like the first step, right, in trying to figure out what to do. And I think that's also the hardest thing. Trusting yourself can be harder than trusting someone else. We want to put our trust in someone else. Tell me the answers. Tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Tell me, please tell me
what's the answer. And so that's, again, like, I think something that I really work with my clients on is getting back to a place of how can you learn to trust yourself again when you've maybe made a wrong choice, or a choice that led to something that was not really what you wanted, not the outcome that you wanted. So how can you learn to trust yourself again? How can you peel back all that stuff that's getting in the way, all the voices that are not your own, that are in your head, all the energy that's in your energy field that's not your own? How can you get rid of that and discern what's yours and what's not, so that you can learn to trust that inner guidance to like kind of direct you to where you need to go? So that's the first step. And that can be, again, really hard to do without the right tools, or, again, having a mentor or a guide, someone to help you if you're feeling like it's really hard to get there on your own.
Okay, so on that note, you're talking about trusting yourself and how it follows down a guideline of where you're supposed to go and being guided to do what you're supposed to do. How did that guide you into the spiritual journey that you've been on and deciding to go into um, like mediumship and psyche stuff and stuff like that?
So it was a gradual process of following breadcrumbs. I mean, first I got hit over the head. It was just like,
Yeah.
um, with my first session seeing a psychic who was doing Reiki, and my mom was like, you got to call this woman, and I wasn't really into any woo-woo spiritual stuff. I was living my happy muggle life. And there were a couple things that had happened that was making me curious to call this woman. And I did. And it just changed my entire perspective. Like it was very surprising. And what happened in that session, my grandfather coming in, a friend who had passed, the way that she was just kind of reading my energy and my mind, it felt like, and all these things that happened, I was like, whoa, like there's way more to the universe in my experience than I previously thought. And I was like, I need to continue going down this path. I need to see her again. I need to figure out what's going on, because it was just this knowing that there was something there I needed to explore. And so I have always been someone who just followed. I didn't really call it intuition. I would just follow what to me felt right. Like I would do things that other people would think were crazy, but to me it was like, it just makes sense. But yeah, I'm going to do this thing. And so I kept seeing her and just following some curiosities. First it was crystals. And then she started working with angels and learning about what spirit guides were, and getting kind of curious about developing my intuition and things like that. So it was over a few years of just following breadcrumbs and synchronicities and, being like, oh, I'm really interested in this. Like, let me learn a little bit more. And then discovering in that process that this was a path that I was meant to go down, and that had gone down in previous lives, had been a psychic medium and lived a spiritual life in different ways. And so that sort of validated it. And that all came to a head all around the time that I lost my sister. And so it was just sort of all these things that were happening that just kind of kept leading me down that path. And so when I lost her, it was very sudden and unexpected. And that's when the mediumship thing really started to be even more, I think, compelling to me, because I was dealing with a lot of grief, a lot of depression, a lot of questioning some of the things that I had been learning. And just like, why? Like, was this part of the plan? This doesn't feel like this was supposed to happen. And wanting like answers and wanting connection and wanting to know that me connecting with her wasn't in my head. And if I could do it for other people, then it was like more real. Mm-hmm. So all those things were sort of swirling around that sort of just like brought it, to the forefront of, okay, I need to like dive all the way in. So that's when I really connected with, met some mentors to develop my mediumship and go deeper into the Akashic records and all of that.
Wow. And it's an important aspect of your life. And when, see, for me, when I discovered that I had spirit, or when I had spirit guides, and that they knew what I wanted, and they've always known what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted until I went down that road, and they told me a little bit about what I wanted. And when I opened up to it, then things started to just fall in line, just like little teeny weeny soldiers. Just when you line them up, and they all or dominoes, they just fall in line, step by step by step. And if I thought it was the right time, and they said no, it's not the right time, then they would present me with something to have me learn something of what I needed to learn to get to where I needed to go, because this is what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be. And so is that how it worked for you? Was it like you said, okay, guys, what am I supposed to be doing? And things started just to open up and to show you where you're supposed to go and the things that you needed?
I mean, I wish it was that easy.
I didn't say it was easy.
Yeah. I think I think that was then a part of my journey, right? Learning to surrender, I think for me has been a challenge. And I used to get so frustrated, like diving into spirituality. I was like, what is with all this surrender? Like, why are we giving up? Like, I'm like a type A go-getter. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, you seem to be that way. And
Alexa, that's me currently. So
and so I am constantly. What do I constantly say to you, Miss Rochelle?
Let it be. And it does, things do fall in line, but how hard I have to work for that is insane. And to surrender at the same time is like, do you want me to give up and let go? But you also want me to have like, I'm like, I don't get it.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. I want to give up. Yeah.
It's so tiring.
Yeah. So I think that's been the balancing act for me. And I think I've always been a control freak. For lack of a better word, right?
You're gonna have to give that up, my dear.
Yeah. So I think that's why, I get knocked over the head. And so I think that, yes, I've had a lot of things, then a lot of great synchronicities and things happen. But then also it doesn't just because all of a sudden, you like have your spiritual awakening and it's all like rainbows and unicorns. It's like, no, like your whole life falls apart. I tell people don't be Moldavite unless you're ready for your entire life to fall apart. I got laid off from my job. I got like all these things happened of like, yes, it was being redirected, but a lot of things made sense when I learned about human design. And I have like the gate that's like the whatever the one is where life's really hard. I'm like blanking on the gate of struggle, I think. This gate or channel of struggle.
So you had what I call a bad country music song period too.
Yeah.
Because my dad died, and then my dog died, and then my wife left, and then I lost my house, and then I declared bankruptcy, and then I got sued for $50,000. This is all true, by the way, in a 3-year period.
Add a lawsuit in there. Yeah, add more stuff. All that happened.
Got sued for $50,000. Hit a trestle with a truck. It was quite a little journey I was on.
Yeah. So I think it's important for people to know that just because all of a sudden you like open up and are spiritually awakened, that it doesn't mean that everything's going to become easy. It becomes easier once you then learn to surrender and trust in some of these things, but it's an ongoing journey. And I think that with surrender, the big thing for me when I figured out what really that meant, it was just to surrender to the present moment. It like just to accept what was happening in the present moment. It wasn't to just like be like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. I guess I don't know. It was more like, okay, today, this is what's happening. Like that radical acceptance of this is my reality. How do I want it to be? Like, this is what's happening. Be grateful for where I am. And what can I do to move closer to where I want to be? And just kind of surrender to that being this process that I don't really know what the timing is. And that was the best way that I could sort of make sense of surrender without wanting to punch a pillow.
And speaking of surrendering, we have to surrender to this really quick break. And but we're going to be right back with Alexa Darrin. Go to alexadarrin.com, find out all about her, and you can work with her. And if you are asking that question, why am I really here? You need to work with somebody. I suggest you work with her, who's a type A personality, who's recovering, I must add. We'll be right back. At 67 years young, I never thought I'd feel this good again. But thanks to Purium's Ultimate Transformation Lifestyle. To date, I've lost 37 pounds and gained energy, confidence, and a whole new outlook on life. This isn't a diet. Purium is a complete lifestyle change, giving me all the natural, organic, nutrition-packed superfoods that fuel my body, crush my cravings, and help me burn fat naturally without starving myself. No gimmicks, no guesswork, just a simple, proven system that works. Superfood shakes, detox support, and real results. If I can do this at 67, imagine what you can do. It's your time to feel better, look better, and live better with Purium. equilibrium. Let's do it now, and let's do it together. Go to www.positivetalkradio.net and click on the Transform You to get started. That's positivetalkradio.net. Transform You. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle, who is actually the star of the show. And would you like to reintroduce our guest, Rochelle?
Yes. Today we have Alexa, who is doing everything and anything above and beyond the energy and the spirit world, and helping people really deeply connect with themselves and everything around them to see and feel more. Alexa Darrin is her website. So let's jump back into the conversation because I have so much going through my brain. And while I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, you talk about bad country music song. Kevin always says that, like that period of time. I'm thinking to myself, am I out of that or am I still in it? And how you mentioned like letting go of control, and really it is, I don't think I'm fully out of it, but I'm coming to the end. And it's crazy how much my mind has been able to absorb the information it has and how I now perceive things than how I did, because the way I've been able to handle it has been different. And I love how you say that it's you got hit on the head and then it got harder, because it does. But as your mind changes, it's easier to go through, because you surrender to it and you're like, okay, well, now I know what I need to do. And you follow each step. And sometimes those breadcrumbs break apart into 5 more, and you have to follow those ones too and pick up your steps. I just think it's fascinating that you've gone through all of that and you've come to a point to where not only have you learned it, but you're able to help other people. So I'm curious on like, what was it like when you first started this journey, and after things started to kind of pick up a little bit and you got comfortable in it? How was that?
Yeah. So, I kind of want to start with, so when I dove into the Akashic Record, so one of the things that I look for when I do an Akashic Record reading for someone and their soul profile.
Okay, and what is that? Can we go over what that is?
The Akashic Records are the energetic library of basically everything about your soul, all the decisions that you made across all your lifetimes, and it contains your soul blueprint, so the information about what makes you you on the soul level. So that's something that I work with the Akashic Records for. I do one-off sessions, but also that's the foundation of my spiritual coaching work, is using that. And so that's, the first thing that I do for those clients. And so when I do that reading, I look at what your top 2 life lessons are, because we choose lessons that we want to learn. Those are not the only things that we're going to learn, but those are the top ones. And it's really helpful to know those lessons, because it gives you a little bit of a perspective on those challenges about why things are hard. So my 2 life lessons are hope and perseverance. Okay. So knowing that, and we joke about our life lessons in our house all the time, and it's good to have a sense of humor about them. So it's like, okay, if I know that my life lesson is perseverance, that means in some past lives, I didn't stick it through to the end. And so now I'm working on sticking through to the end. And so, of course, I'm going to hit some roadblocks because I chose that life lesson, and I can choose to move through it with a little bit more grace, or I can choose to be like, why is this happening to me? So I think that knowing that that's what it is, it allows you to kind of take a deep breath. Okay, I got to look and see, is this goal worth pursuing? Do I feel like it's aligned with my soul? What is this effort worth it? Do I feel like this is where I want to go? Okay, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to persevere through some of these challenges and not let them knock me down and knock me off of my path. So I think that's really helpful. So that was early on in my journey. I saw that, right? That those were my lessons. And so that I think has helped me to get through some of these things. And, my husband, his is like creativity and resilience. So we've got a couple, resilience and perseverance. We were like, uh-oh. Right?
There's a match.
Yeah. Let's not let these things get us down. Right. And so I think you're gonna ask me a question.
We're just overflowing with questions. I got to tell you.
I know.
But I did want to ask you. Now I've totally spaced on it. Did I totally space? Oh, hold on. No, I wanted to ask you that. Oh, I know what it was. You're a psychic medium. You are a so you know things, and you have been told things, and so isn't it easier for you because you've been told by your sister and others that you've contacted on the other side that it's, and you have proof. See, I've worked with a ton of psychic mediums, so I know I have proof that what they're saying in many parts is real. It's true. It's not a fantasy. It's not somebody making shit up. Excuse the expression. That means and stuff. But it is true, and so isn't it easier now for you because you know what it's all about, or a good portion of it anyway? I don't think we'll ever know what it's all about.
I think yes and no. And I think that's a big myth, right? That psychics have all the answers, that we're all knowing, and we can find out everything for ourselves. It's way easier for me to connect with my clients, spirit guides, and angels for super clear messages and guidance and to see what's going on with them than it is for my own stuff. I remember asking my mentor, I said, does it ever get easier to get like your own specific guidance? And she's like, oh no, I go to see someone else for that.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
Yeah, I was just telling Kevin that last week. Like I I can feel and read all this other energy, but when it comes to myself, there's like a wall in front of me and I want to see somebody else for it. So thank you for validating that. I felt like I was crazy.
Well, and isn't that because if we knew our own stuff, then we could fix it? And that's not, we're here to learn the lessons, and the lessons take time. And there's going to be the up of it and the down of it, and the left and the right, and the light and the dark, and all that crap that we get to go through to get to where we say we want to go.
Yeah. So I still get guidance. I just don't get the answers to the test, So it's like,
can't I just have the answers to the test?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what the heck? So yeah, I think that it's easier in that way that I do know, like, I don't have to doubt that any of this is real or have I kind of understand the bigger picture, but I don't know all the answers. And I think also, and this is something that happens with my clients. I was just talking to one the other day about this weird thing that happens when you start to learn about some of these concepts in spirituality, and so you learn them, and then you have a hard time sort of implementing them, like things about surrender or trust or all of these things that sound lovely, right? And then you get down on yourself. You're like, well, I should know better. Why am I getting frustrated? Why am I not trusting? I should know better. I know these things. And it's like, there's a big difference between knowing something and embodying it. And embodying it, that's what takes time and practice. And so if you think about, when you learn to play music, say you learn to play the piano, like, okay, what the note is on the staff and where that is on the piano, and you can play row, row, row your boat, but you can't play a Beethoven like piece, right? You have to practice to get up to that. And so I think that's something that's important for anyone who's diving into their spiritual development, like to not get down on themselves for not being perfect just because you know better. It's practice. You're working towards that, right? And so it's just like, okay, today, how can I be a little bit, better? How can I implement what I know? How can I embody this wisdom a little bit better each day to get more towards that, instead of expecting yourself to just like flip a switch. Now all of a sudden, in Zen surrender every day.
I wish.
Yeah.
Well, but that isn't that, and maybe I need medication, but isn't that the unique fun of life and what it all is the incredible silly drama that we put ourselves through, that we don't need to be putting ourselves through, because everything's going to turn out fine.
It's so true. And one of the most common messages that comes through when I do mediumship for someone else is that their loved ones are like, stop worrying so much. All that little stuff you're worrying about, like everything's going to be fine. Like that message comes through all the time. And so I try to think about that, right? Is like, okay, think of this thing you're worried about, if you're not going to worry about it in like a year, 5 years, like, don't worry about it now. And easier said than done, of course, but that is, that's a big message, I think, from the other side.
Oh, and I've got to
And then
ask you.
that has to do with let it be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which, by the way, is the gospel according to Sir Paul McCartney. But in any event, I've got to ask you this. Yesterday we had a guy on. He's a grief counselor and was talking about grief, and I made the comment that the people who you are grieving for on the other side, they're fine. They're great. What they're saying is, don't grieve for me. Live your life to the best that you can, because you're here for such a short time. Enjoy yourself. Live life to the fullest, and don't grieve for something you can't control. Does that ever come through, or he looked at me like I'd lost my mind, and I was just curious if that's true. Have I lost my mind?
No, absolutely. That comes through a lot too, of like, I'm okay. And really, like, that too, that message of have more fun, that comes through a lot of, hey, that thing you're thinking about, take the risk, and do the thing that that feels more risky or more exciting. Like, go for it, have more fun, lighten up, dance more, laugh more. Like, all those things are really common messages. And my sister would come through with that too. And in the beginning I would be like frustrated because I'm like, I'm grieving you.
Like, don't you get it?
Yeah, don't you get it? I can't just go dance in the field of daisies like you left me.
Let me grieve because it makes me feel better.
Yeah. But that is absolutely a message, because they're great, and they want to see us happy and thriving and laughing and enjoying the present moment and not worrying about all the little stuff that we're going to look back on and realize, like, it didn't really matter.
By the way, we're talking with Alexa Darrin, and go to her website, which is alexadarrin.com. I want to thank you for being here. We've got another half hour of the show. I have to take a station break, but you are enchanting, and I'm anxious for the two of you because Rochelle's got questions, so we'll be right back, and I'll let the two of you run with it.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with, like me, Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle's here, and Alexa Darrin is here, and I'm going to wind you guys up. I'm sure, Rochelle, you have got a bushel full of questions on that.
Somehow you know that. I think you might have psychic abilities we don't know about yet. But I thought of this miraculous question, and really it's something I've been asking myself, and I would love to learn from you, is how do you most efficiently and effectively learn to use your energy? I know it's a pretty broad question.
Like, use your energy for what?
Like, use your energy to decide, like, how much of your energy are you going to allow yourself to give to certain things, and how you've been able to set boundaries.
Okay, yeah, good question. So that is a daily practice, I think, for sure. And so that's something that is one of the first things I also do with my clients that I work with on an ongoing basis, is like a daily energetic management sort of practice where you are, there's different ways to do it, but essentially what you want to do is you want to get rid of the energy that's not yours through whether that's cord cutting, visualization, getting that out, calling all your energy back to you, because we give our energy out a lot of places, and then setting up those boundaries. And not because you want to keep anyone out or because there's anything bad that's going to come get you, but you want to kind of set that boundary for what you're going to take on and what you're going to give out. So like setting that intention. And so having I think a morning and evening practice is good. If you're just going to do one in the morning is great to set your day off right. And then it's just from there, it's cultivating awareness. So that's why I think, meditation is great because that starts to cultivate an awareness, but you don't need to meditate to do that. Some people don't resonate with that. They, going out in nature or taking a bubble bath, whatever it is. Right. And so once you start to set up and sometimes, my clients will set up like Post-it notes to like remind themselves throughout the day to sort of check their energy, or like set timers on their phone, because it's hard to remember. Like when you're developing a new habit, you have to figure out a sort of mechanism to remember. Right. And so the best question that you can ask yourself when you're going through your day and you're feeling a certain way that you maybe don't like is like, ask yourself, is this mine or is this someone else's? Or if a thought comes in that's, your inner critic, or that you're trying to make a decision, or there's things that are coming in that maybe, are influencing you. If you can cultivate the habit of asking yourself, is this mine or is this someone else's? Like that's one of the best questions you can ask yourself, because oftentimes it's your mom in your head, or it's your teacher from elementary school.
How did you know my mom was in my head?
It never happens. Never. Or these things you picked up. And so, yeah, I think starting to think about what's yours and what's other people's, because you want to make sure that it's yours. You don't want any other energy, but your own energy, and of course the energy of your spiritual team, influencing you or in your field in that way.
Ooh, okay. One more question, then Kevin, you can go.
I love being excited.
Yes, I'm absorbing this. I'm sweating right now. Like I've had to breathe consistently because I can feel how much energy we're building up. Maybe it's totally just me, but you spoke on the last thing you said was like your guides talking to you and your spirit guides and this and this and that. How were you able to, was there like a key thing that helped you to learn, or a tool that you used to know where that was coming from? Like, okay, that thought was definitely that. And that feeling was definitely that. Because I think sometimes it can be very confusing and we wrap ourselves up into this idea of, oh, well, I felt that thought, so it must be that. How did you decipher like what was really a message coming through and what maybe had been fears or internal things?
So I will say that when you're developing your intuition, the number one thing like that people get caught up in is trying to figure out where it's coming from. Like, is this my guides? Is this me? Or like is this my clairaudience? Is it my claircognizance, or my, like trying to dissect it? And I would say, don't even worry about it. Like the first thing that you need to like think about is the tone of voice and the energy of the guidance that's coming in. Because whether it's your intuition, your higher self, your guides, your claircognizance, whatever you want to call it, right? If it's your inner wisdom in whatever form, your higher self, it's going to be really calm. It's going to feel really peaceful. It's going to feel really subtle and really quiet. And there's not going to be any pressure, any timeline, any fear, any of that stuff with it. Whereas if it's your ego, it's going to be like, oh, you better do that now. And if you don't do that, like you're going to feel that. And so the first step is just to start to pay attention to the feeling and the energy behind wherever the sort of, whether it's, your gut feeling or what you're hearing, is just to start to separate those two. Does it feel like this is coming from love, or does it feel like it's coming from fear? Is really the two feelings you can distill it down to. And so that is the first step. Because once you can start to discern the energy, it doesn't matter if it's your guides or your higher self or your claircognizance, right? It doesn't matter because it's all coming from the same place. And so I think we want to like know the details, right? And so Once you can do that, then you can start to know where it's coming from. And then you can start to discern the different sort of flavors of the energy, right? If it is your guides, if it's one of your guides, and you start to get to know their personality or the energy of your angel, all that will come as you start to pay attention to sort of the flavor of the energy. And as you develop your different clairs, because if you think about clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance are sort of the main ones. So we all have a different sort of skill set or like gifts when it comes to intuition. And some people are more naturally gifted in clairvoyance and some are more in clairaudience. And so that's also something that I look for in the Akashic records for my clients. What is the one that has like the most potential to develop to a high level, and develop that instead of trying to force yourself to develop your intuition in a way that you saw in a YouTube video or your friend or whatever your version of it, you think that it should be. Like leverage your skills, right? And know that it's going to be very, very subtle in the beginning. And the more you practice, then the sort of more vivid that it will become.
Got it. Thank you.
Years and years ago, when I was first starting in radio, I had an assistant. Her name was Brooke. And she said, how do you do that? And I said, how do I do what? And she said, you'll be interviewing somebody and I'll have a question that'll pop up in my head. And then you'll ask the question. How do you do that? And it's like, I don't know, because I keep open and the question will just pop into my head and I'll ask it. So that's how, to this day, that's how I've always done it. So if I have a intuition gift, that would be it. Is I can pick up on what other people are wanting to hear from you so that they can answer the questions that they've got in their own mind. And that's kind of a gift, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I love being able to do it. I'm teaching her how to do it too, because it really, in this business, it's kind of important because we can create some really fun things and fun conversations with people. And you're awesome. And I want to, before we run out of time, I want to thank you for coming here today.
Thanks so much for having me.
100%.
Fun.
And I know we have to take another break in 3 minutes, but I have another question. So
go ahead.
Okay. Okay. This is the last one I just have to get off of my chest. They've all been building since the beginning. But what was your experience like when you first met the personality or the character, or felt like a spirit guide or an angel, like whatever came to you first? What was that experience like?
So my first experience doing mediumship was the first time I really experienced things vividly. And that was when it was my clairsentience was like firing off, like my like fingers were moving, I think. And like my upper lip was like tingling. I forget what it related to, but like the physical sensations were firing off. And then I connected with someone who had passed from a heart attack, and my heart started beating like out of my chest. And I was very grateful for it because it let me know that I wasn't making it up in my head, right? I think that when you see things clairvoyantly in the beginning, you can think it's your imagination. And so that, to me, I was so grateful that happened, because it didn't happen like that every time, but it was that motivator to keep me going, because I was like, okay, this is not in my head. I'm connecting. And then I sort of had to work my way back to that. And so I think what surprised me the most, I think, about connecting to spirit in the beginning was, aside from that experience that was very visceral, was how subtle it was. Like, and I think that's what trips people up. It's so subtle. And the thing that you have to, like, becoming a medium is the ultimate, like, test of surrender and trust, which is probably like why my soul decided to work on that in this lifetime, is to like, work on my trust and surrender, because it's the first thing that comes in, right? Like the first thing that comes into your awareness, because you're raising your vibration to meet with the spirit, they're lowering theirs, and they're working with whatever clairs that you've got available, to get that vibration, going. And so it's not like it's going to be like, I'm not seeing them like they're in the room. They're using my imagination for my clairvoyance. It's very subtle. So you have to learn to just put yourself and your ego to the side and just call out whatever comes in, even like the really weird stuff. I came to become very grateful for the weird stuff, because then I knew I wasn't making it up. So I'd be like, give me the weird stuff, And so that, I think, is for me, like kind of releasing the expectation that it was going to get more vivid and more real right out of the gate, and to just honor the subtlety of it, and to trust that that's how it was going to be, and to sort of keep at it.
Awesome.
Does that help, Rochelle?
Yes, got it. I mean, a lot of that already makes so much sense, but the verification is breathtaking, because I mean, normal people and special people and all these different kinds of people, anything we go through or we practice, we come to moments where we're like, is there something wrong with me? Like, do other people experience this? How is this? And it really just feels good. So thank you.
And we need to take our final break. It's just a short one. It's a little itty bitty one. So just wait right there, and we'll be right back. But when we come back, I have to ask you, because I went to a spiritual class and we called in our spirit guides, and the weirdest thing happened to me. And I want to ask you again, do I need to be on medication? And we'll be right back.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. We've got, I got her moving. That's so cool. Alexa Darrin is with us. She's a psychic medium, a spiritual life coach, and you can contact her by going to alexadarrin.com. Okay, years ago in 2002, I went to a spiritual group, and one of the things that we did is we went outside and onto a farm, and we all stood around and we worked to call in our spirit guide, or call in our angel, or whoever it is. And I had my friend, he decided he was going to be a Indian, and so his spirit guide came through, was of Indian descent, and so he started speaking all weird language and stuff. All my guy did was laugh in a way that I've never laughed before or since, and that's all he did. Was just, it amused him greatly of what was going on, and it felt like it was somebody else. Is that possible? I mean, could that have happened?
Yeah, why not?
Well, because it was so real, and everybody would look at me like, is he high? What's going on? Because it was a completely different, it was a low baritone laugh. I can't even duplicate it. But it was not me. It was somebody else. And so that gave me the understanding that I've got one of the, if we were to do a pickup basketball game, I'll take my guides versus your guides anytime, because I've got great guides. Just in a pickup basketball.
Yeah, I think that the angels, your guides, spirit has a great sense of humor, and so it's not.
They do.
Yeah.
That is so exciting. That is so. It is so cool that we have all of that, and you have learned it and know it now. See, for me, it's more of a knowing than a belief structure. I gave up the belief structure a long time ago because I now know that this is true.
Yeah.
And I've worked with a lot of guys all over the place. Is my connection still crazy?
Little bit. We're getting you back a little more. Just a
Oh,
delay.
okay. Well, why don't you, Rochelle, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
on
don't
that
want.
note, let me see.
I don't want to be. I don't want to have. I don't want to have a crazy Kevin connection. So you guys, I want to make sure that we get the best of Alexa that we can.
I think really just a question for you is what was one of your biggest experiences you still think about going through this journey that you still um, have a deep connection with and you still think about and that affected you greatly that wasn't of your own?
Um, Man, I've had so many, but I think, you know, I'd forgotten about the first time that I connected with my guides when I was doing a guided meditation, and this was before I had, really opened up any sort of gifts and knew that I could be a psychic medium. And
Mhm.
I this in this guided meditation, you went to meet your spirit guides, and so I was just lying down on my bed with my headphones on, and you visualize the room that you meet them in, and I saw them, three of my guides, and they gave me this gift. And then at the moment that I had to then say goodbye, I
Mm.
I got so emotional and I was like bawling. And then the meditation ended and I came out of that, and because it like felt like home, and I didn't want to leave that room. And I was so surprised by that emotion and that experience. It really like took my breath away. And that really got me thinking, I can't believe I'd forgotten about this. And that's what really was like, okay, I need to keep developing this. Like I had that really intense experience. I want to be able to connect with them again. And so that really solidified, I think, the power of guided meditation for me. And that's a tool that I use with my clients. I've channeled a ton of guided meditations that I use for different things with my clients that are part of my program, or as things come up, then I'll create new ones, because I think that when you get into that relaxed state, being in a relaxed state is the best way to access your intuition. And so when you're in a relaxed guided meditation, you're activating your imagination. So you're sort of meeting spirit halfway, and you can have really powerful experiences. And so yeah, that was a wild experience that sort of, yeah, it took me by surprise, and then gave me, I think, a lot of faith and motivation to keep going down
For
that path.
sure. That is beautiful. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you if I could, on behalf of my host over here, Rochelle, because she has nightmares. And are you still having them?
The last 2 nights have been pretty killer. The third night previously from now was I can still feel the physical pain from it, and it still just kind of lingers with me. I think I get too deep on trying to figure it out. But since it's so consistent every single night, and there's multiple dreams sometimes that I'm looped in and I can't come out of, it's like, how do you? I really don't know how to manage it with my mind once I'm asleep. I have learned how to protect myself going to sleep. I have a routine that I do now with my energy and talking to my guides in the universe, but um, it's still a huge challenge, and someday I really hope to figure it out.
Man, I'm
And
so sorry.
Dr. Marnie says, interesting topic. Looking forward to hearing Alexa's story. So before we run out of time, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Talk about your story and your walk through life to get to now and where you're going from here. I would love to know where your guides are telling you you're going from here.
I will, and I don't want to leave you hanging on that dream, Michelle. So we'll come back to that. But
Okay.
I mean, my story. I've been a multi-passionate, very ambitious person, type A person, my whole life, and I think I've always been really searching for what my purpose was. And I went through a lot of different careers, and before that, college majors, and trying to figure out who I was, and always felt alone, or like I didn't fit in, or searching for answers, and going through all of that. And then throughout my spiritual journey, then realized that I had these gifts, opened them up. And that is why I am so passionate about working with multi-passionate, ambitious women to like understand your purpose and to debunk some of the myths about purpose and the things that can get us really hung up and set us back, and to really help people to, I think, connect with who they are, you know, so they can have whatever they want, and to break free from all these things that are holding them back. Because I really think that all of us can have a much bigger vision for ourselves than we actually have. There's so much more possible for all of us. And that begins to open up once you really begin to know who you are. And so, you know, I have a lot of different ways that I help women to connect with who they are and to empower them to live that big, bold dream, you know, using the Akashic records and my gifts and coaching and all of that. And so I think it's the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to really get to know who you are.
And who you are at a deep level. And go ahead and answer that question or the dream question.
I don't have like an actual answer for it, right? There's a few things that could be happening. And so that could be a result of some sort of block in your Akashic record. So for anyone listening that's having dreams, right? If you're having recurring nightmares, and if your dreams are really vivid or you're stuck in a loop, that can be a symptom of a past life situation, so to speak, pattern thing that you sort of got involved in. And there's something that's running, it's called a program that's running at one of your chakras. And so I wish that I could give you like a DIY thing to do, right?
Okay.
Because that's good in your Akashic record. But it's a really easy thing to do. That could be one thing. But I think that without that, like if you don't want to then get an Akashic clearing, then something that you can do is like set that intention. Like I am closing my energy off to anything that is not for my highest good. You know, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to go.
Keep me in my body, please.
Yeah. And so I wonder if there's like the prayers online, because this is stuff that I give my clients who see me that have this. So there's that. And there's also like one of the things that we do, like when we, like in between lifetimes, we have jobs. And some of us is to play a part in other people's dreams. That doesn't seem like that's what's going on with you, but for people who are listening, who maybe are having dreams that they're waking up feeling exhausted or they don't remember all of that, then that's also, again, setting that intention of like, I don't want to go to work tonight in anyone else's dream. Like we're shutting this down and I'm just going to stay in my own energy. And so it sounds like you're already talking to your guides about that. But I think that the next thing that you could do is to meditate, and especially you're developing your gifts, right? Meditate and ask your guides, why is this happening? And ask them to show you what that block is, or if it's from a past life, if it's something happening, and just ask. And that's something that anyone listening can do, right? It's meditate and ask. And if meditating and waiting for an answer feels difficult, then pull out a pen and paper and write that question down and say, why is this happening to me? You know, the details, and then just start writing and see what comes out, because that's also a way to get answers from your guides, to meditate on where that's coming from, because that could be, it sounds like on an energetic level, there's something that's going on that just needs to get cleared. And so whether you can do that on yourself or with the help of someone who can like see into that, then that'd be a way, I think, to get past it. But the last thing I will say is that your energy, like you are the boss of your energy.
Right.
So you get to call the shots. The trick is when you don't know what's happening, right? And you're not aware that your energy is like you're giving it out or it's being taken, and that's when that happens. But when you get that awareness and you know when it's coming from, then you can set those attentions and you are completely in charge of your energy. No one can take it without your permission. You just might have given that permission away subconsciously or in a past life, and that's why it's happening now. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm going to leave it on that note. We're about to run out of time, but anybody who wants to go and talk with Alexa, join in with her, see about the work she does, go to alexadarrin.com. Do your research, get curious on yourself. I'm definitely going to start doing more deep diving and asking further questions in my meditation. And Alexa, the last 30 seconds, is there anything you'd like to tell our audience?
No, I think that whatever you do, like figure out a practice to take Like if it's just 5 minutes a day to try to get to know yourself. Because when you know who you are, you can have anything you want.
Yes.
And that is a very hopeful message to leave it at the last. Thank you, Alexa, for being here. AlexaDarrin.com. Visit it, see her. And will you come back?
Of course. I would love to.
We got more stuff for you. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at KM